Well, here we are in Barcelona, and we're getting ready for the Avnet Silica global event on the future of digital. But you know what? There's always this extraordinary sense of magic, expectancy, anticipation, and fire when you come into a great big event like this, knowing that people are just about to arrive. And I enjoy it. I confess, I love being on a platform. Why is that? Because there's something extraordinary about what happens when you put a speaker in front of an audience. That is, if you know how to work an audience, because it's almost a mystical experience. When you take a whole group of people, here 1,000 people will be behind me, going on the same journey into the future, in the same space, breathing the same air, having the same experience. It's like being able to say afterwards, yes, I was there at the football match. I was there at the European final. I was there in that amazing concert. I was there at the premiere of that film. We go on a journey, it's a collective experience, and we are changed. Why is that? Well, I often say this, when it comes to the future, once you've seen something, you can never unsee it. You are transformed. It's a kind of revelation. It's not necessarily that you're seeing something new, it's that you're seeing something that suddenly makes sense. You're hearing things perhaps that you've heard before, but in the context of hearing them with 1,000 other people who are all in a similar situation, all have the same questions in their minds, and there's this extraordinary collective revelation which blasts new levels of consciousness and understanding right across an organization. It's incredibly exciting to see. It's very satisfying, and it's amazing fun. Why is that? Because when you do that, you create this engaging, hyper-connected experience, which is very interactive. So one of the ways in which I help to fuse new vision of the future into people's brains is to ask them about their vision of the future. You see, I can get up on that platform there and I will love it. I'm excited. I'll pace up and down. They all laugh. They will chat. They will clap. They will cheer. And it's all great. But the real work is when they create the future and rewire the circuits inside their own brains. As a physician, for me, that's really exciting. And how that happens is this. When you ask an audience a question, and you get them to think, and you get them to produce a quick show of hands, you're calibrating their views, and they can see their views being measured, if you like, against the rest of the community here. Let me give you an example. So Avnet Silica is one of the greatest suppliers of digital and electronics in the world. And their products are already flying around the universe in thousands of satellites, courtesy of people like Elon Musk. But the question I've put to my audience is this. Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. By what year do you think he actually will? By what year will Avnet's own products be on the planet Mars sustaining a human community? What do you think? Now, of course, there's no right answer to that question, but the collective answer is fascinating. So we'll start. I'll ask my audience to say, okay, put up your hands if you think it'll have happened by 2050. And they'll all go up. Then I'll ask them, put up your hands if you think it'll happen by the year Elon Musk has said. We're in the year 2022. Elon Musk did say he thought it would be by 2027. And we'll see very few, maybe 10%. The question is, by what year do most people in this room think it will have happened? And my guess is they'll say something like 2035. 2035. Well, we'll see. 2035, that's where my guess will be. But the point is this. Once you've got an answer from an audience, you can play with it, because you can say, okay, if the majority of you are right, if there will be a human colony on Mars by 2035, actually, a quarter of you think it will be by 2030. What does that mean for R&D now? What does that mean for what else will happen inside this company? And what steps do we need to take now to deliver on that vision? It's the same with electric cars. You see, most debate on the future is about timing. It's not about what's going to happen, because it's so obvious. Yes, of course, there are many disruptive events, and I've described many of them in my books in the past. In the future of almost everything, for instance, which I wrote in 2015, I warned that we would see new viral pandemics. Why? Because it's obvious there are new viruses emerging every year somewhere in the world. It's only a matter of time before you see another one that goes viral, completely viral around the world, spreads very fast and becomes a pandemic. I couldn't tell you that COVID would hit us in 2020, but I did know that it was a serious threat, it would be a significant disruption, and that it would be a repeating risk. It's the same with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I didn't know the year that Russia's next military adventure would happen, but it was obvious that it would. So even with destructive events, it is usually possible to make a list of the ones that are most likely and a time scale, 10, 20, 30 years. But the most important thing is this, that disruptive events come and go, but in the sweep of human history, they are usually largely irrelevant to business compared to the massive sweep of change which takes place from megatrends. These are things which are on our radar screen as futurists for 10, 20, 30 years. So when I wrote my book FutureWise in 1998, I described a 50-year view. And it described things like the rise of Asia, the predominance of India and China as the two greatest economies in geopolitical terms and influence. In the longer-term future, the aging of countries like Germany and Japan and the impact on pension funds and on social care, the increasing digitalization of our society, etc., etc., etc. These are huge trends. They're irresistible forces, and the 1 billion human beings moving from rural areas into cities over 30 years. Why? Because it happened again over the last 30 years. Another billion will move over the next 30 years. These are irresistible megatrends. They are attenuated, interrupted to some extent by disruptive events such as COVID, but even they do not have the power to shape the future of human existence in the widest sense. So when you look at these great big digital trends, for instance, which is what we're doing here today, you see really very exciting transformations of society attenuated by these blips created by events. So that's the kind of thing we'll be discussing here today. And that's the kind of thing that excites me, because when you create that vision, when you take people out of their 5-year strategy or their 6-month response to the latest event that has struck the business strategy and disrupted logistics and supply chains or whatever the current strategic issues are, when you take them out of that and you help people to understand how what they are doing is going to transform the whole of humanity to create a better world, then that's a very exciting place to be. But it's all about purpose. It's about connecting with the deeper purpose people have. Not just the bits and the bytes and the widgets and digits and all kinds of other stuff, but it's the big story. It's why it is that we exist, what we are for, the difference we make, and why it's so exciting to go on that future journey together.